to the Group X podcast, mate. It's good to see you.
Kia ora. Yeah, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Mate, you are welcome. You're welcome. Hey, let's kick it off right from the beginning then. Can you tell us how you got into the fitness industry, mate? Where does your journey begin?
It begins a very long time ago in a land not so far from here,
No.
actually. So my journey in group fitness started when I was a school student. So when I was still at school.
Yep.
And I had the good or misfortune, depending on how you like to think of it, of breaking my leg. So I broke my leg when I was at school. And while I was rehabilitating from that injury, I was given a stack of like used magazines from the library.
Yep.
And I was leafing through these magazines, and I saw one that was Fitness Magazine, Fitness NZ or something like that it was called. And there was an article about a school student from my city who was the world champion in sports aerobics.
No way.
True story. And I saw this, and I must have read this article like 20 times because I was just like, wow, that's so cool. Like, that just looks like someone who's having a great time and doing such great stuff, and I could do that.
Yep.
And from there, just, my sort of 15-year-old myopic boy brain,
Yep.
addled on hormones and stupidity, just decided that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
So off I went to the nearest gym, which just so happened to be a Les Mills gym,
Yep.
and joined up. And I was joined up by our current director of fitness, Ishmael Shane.
Yes.
Who's now my boss.
Excellent.
And he'll attest to the fact he still remembers like 1995 joining up this like weird little kid to the gym as a membership consultant. So
Love it.
joined the gym, went to my first group fitness class and was just absolutely hooked on group fitness, and aerobics as it was called at the time. I think it was a body attack class that I went to, was the first one I went to.
Brilliant.
And just you couldn't get me out of there.
Yep.
And they tried.
Yep.
Like, there were lots and lots of members who will probably just recall this really annoying little kid who used to stand behind them and copy all the moves that they did because he had no rhythm, he had no ability to move. And I just was so persistent and stubborn and stuck at it and stuck at it and stuck at it.
Yep.
And I was a member for maybe a year and a half before they gave me a chance to try and move into group fitness. And this was prior to the days that Les Mills had created their module training system and their very structured onboarding process, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Back in the day, it was, they ran a 6-week course for aerobics instructors, and, they taught you how to move to the music and how to count beats and how to read choreography and safety cues and options and all those sorts of things.
The basics.
The basics. And you had to choreograph your own track at the end of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I did that, qualified from that, and then went into being a training instructor.
Yep.
For Les Mills. And this was Les Mills Christchurch, which at the time, my boss at Les Mills Christchurch was Maureen Baker.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she owned the gym, and she was the boss of Group Fitness as well there. So she gave me a chance to be a trainee, and I spent countless hours standing behind and to the side of Glenn Ostergaard while he practiced body attack.
Yep.
And
That's fantastic.
Glenn Ostergaard is just, he's a machine today, and he was a machine 20 years ago as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Just an absolute machine with technique and with physical fitness. And I'm just trying to keep up with this guy.
Yes.
He's like, if you do 10 of these in a class at this speed, we're going to practice 50 twice as fast. With perfect technique the whole time.
Yep.
And so, just like little sponge, 17, 16-year-old Giles, just sponging off of these people, training up, learning all the things, and eventually got a chance to teach body attack for Les Mills Christchurch. And taught for Maureen there for a year before I went to Les Mills Dunedin, taught there for several years. I'm kind of condensing now because the first part's the funniest bit.
Yeah. I want to take you back in that first part anyway. How did you break your leg? What were you doing when you broke?
That's another, I'm just full of great and terrible stories. So I went to the school sports days. You know how you have school sports days when you're at high school?
Yeah.
So my first year of high school, school sports day, A few months in, I'd actually qualified for the basketball team, which was my first sport that I was very, very, very heavily into, and still
Awesome.
love basketball today.
Yeah, yep.
But I ceased growing at about 15 in terms of height.
Yep.
And so wise decision to go into group fitness.
Yeah.
Did not achieve the requisite height for basketball.
Yep.
But yeah, so I was a basketball player, went to the school sports day, nothing to do with basketball, and I was competing, and, you know, all the kids, they just go, who wants to compete in this? Who wants to compete in this? And they go, everybody line up at the start line now. We're going to do a steeplechase.
Yep.
And the steeplechase is the one where, you know, it's like a couple of kilometers and you run around the track and you have to climb over those gigantic hurdles.
Yes.
You know, horse-sized
hurdles. Yes. Yes.
And, you know, 13-year-old kids, we're not running it. You know how you see the Olympics, they run over those things. We're just like straddling them and climbing over them, like getting on top. And we were all doing this. And I climbed on top of the one that had the water pit.
Yep.
And got to the top of it. And
Sorry,
one of the other kids
I don't mean to laugh, but I think I can see what's coming.
Oh, it gets gross. Because one of the kids in my year thought it would be hilarious to run out and start pushing kids off and into the water pit. Yeah, you got wet, haha. And he did this to some of the others, and it all went fine. Did it to me. And as I was falling off, I was turning around and about to, you know, shout some sort of expletive at him as I'm falling. But I hit the ground and my body kept turning and my foot didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, just
gone.
Snap the leg. Yeah.
Mate, well, I will say though that I think we're lucky that did happen to you.
Yeah, well, I look on it in a good way now.
Yeah, you look at, yes, that was ouch and shit, that hurt. But at the same time, if that didn't happen, you wouldn't have been where you were reading the magazine, seeing about fitness, and then that whole evolution, that journey to get where you are.
It's a sliding doors moment.
Yes.
One of those moments.
Yeah.
That's why I remember it so well, because I reflect on it back thinking, man, 30 seconds earlier, doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He chooses the kid next to me, doesn't happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So
wow. Isn't that awesome? I love those stories because they allow you to reflect, but also, you know, you sit back and you think, what would have happened if that didn't happen, and I just jumped, fell in the water, got on, kept running, where would I be today? What would I be doing?
Still not a professional basketball player.
Yeah, at year 10, was it year 10 you stopped growing? Year 10,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Brilliant. So you walked into the gym, you met Ish, and decided to join up. What was your experience like in the gym the first time you walked in? Because obviously you'd been fit, you'd been doing stuff.
Great questions, Tony. You ask great questions.
I'm going to get you thinking. Get to thinking all about
and
you.
I've got to thank Ish again, because Ish has this wonderful training methodology that he gave to me several years ago when I was working with him for presenting.
Yep.
And he loves to frame every piece of education with a story.
Yep.
And so one of the drills that he got us to do is come up with stories, and then think of how that story could illustrate a point.
Yep.
So I've got all these stories that you're asking me for now. It's like Ish has already taught me about it. It's just been like,
I got to reach out to Ish as well and get him on. I've chatted to him a couple of times and stuff, but I'd love to get him on for a chat
with Ish.
Yeah.
Yes. So my first experience in the gym. So this is, I mean, it could be imagining things, but my first vivid recollection of going to a group fitness class was Body Attack.
Yep.
And it was at the old Les Mills Christchurch gym. So anybody who's a member or who knows Les Mills Christchurch today, it's a very modern facility. But the old facility spanned across two buildings, and they had this gigantic group fitness studio. It was very similar to Auckland's Studio One today.
Yep.
Big, wide floor, no pillars, expansive, and it could hold over 200 people.
Wow.
And the class that I walked past, it had 200 people in it. It was full from the very front all the way to the very back, to the extent where they had put up one of those little rope barrier at the back so that people could walk across the back to get to the weights room, because you had to walk through the back of the studio.
Yeah.
So I come in, and I'm probably, I don't know, I show up at the right time, but it's not the right time because I didn't know there would be 200 people. And so I'm like, I squeeze into the back, and you got to remember, as I mentioned before, like, I've never done group fitness. I've got no rhythm, less than no rhythm. I'm the antithesis of timing. You know, I'm getting a -5 for choreography and timing. And so I'm in the back row, and I come into this class, and the guy who's teaching the class, I'm not going to name him. I'll let him remain silent. He doesn't teach group fitness anymore. But he was a rock star instructor from the old school of rock star instructors. So he did about, I'll be generous and say 50% of the class he did.
Yep.
and 50% of the class, he strutted up and down like Mick Jagger across the front of the stage. And he would just be like, you, nice, you. Can we swear on this?
Yes. Yes,
You,
can.
shit.
Yeah.
Right? And so he's doing the class, and I'm down in the back, and I'm trying to do, we're doing step touches. It's not like we're doing anything complicated. And I'm trying to stay in time, and I'm not even closely, vaguely doing it. And the people around me are trying to stay away from me because they're like, this guy's going to bump into me.
Yeah.
And so I'm moving off the beat, and just like this guy, the instructor, he's doing his thing, and he's walking across, and he laser beams me with his eyes, and he does the you, and I'm like, and he goes, yeah, you, and I'm like, what? And he goes, fuck off. True story. And he just tells me to get the hell out of his class, and I'm just like,
brilliant.
School-age child, like teenage boy, and I'm like, oh. So I just
what do I do?
slink out underneath the rope and disappear and never go. And I never went back to his class for probably a year. I didn't go back to his class for a year, but I went to other people's classes because I was a stubborn teenage boy.
Yeah.
And I just was like, I'm never going to that guy's class, but I'm not letting him stop me.
Yeah. That's a good thing. You didn't let that one experience that was daunting turn it around and go, oh shit, I'm never going back in there. No, there's other people I can go to. I can,
No, I was far too infatuated. I was far too infatuated with the whole group. I mean, I was like, I don't like you, but man, I want to be you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I want to have your job.
Tell me offline after who it was. I'd love to.
You probably won't even know him. Like,
that's brilliant.
Yeah. He was a local legend, but that was about as far as it went.
Brilliant. So how did it progress into you wanting to become an instructor? How did that evolution happen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was probably from the very outset.
Yep.
So, I mean, right from the very beginning, I was looking at the person on stage and thinking, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
Like teenage kids do. They're casting around for, well, what's my thing?
Yes.
What am I going to be? What am I going to do?
Yep. I still don't know, man, and I'm not a teenager anymore.
Exactly. I was quite blessed in that I was sort of myopic and stupid and just
Yep.
just stubborn enough and silly enough to think, well, I can do that.
Yeah. No, look, that's
yeah.
It's an honest, real answer, and I think a lot of the listeners to the show will gel with that as well. The first time they walked into a group exercise room and watched what the instructor was doing, that's either going to be, oh shit, I can't do that. I'm just happy to sit here and blend in with everybody else, or hang on a second, I can do that. I reckon I can do that. And then, if you're lucky, you do get the tap on the shoulder to say, hey, you know what? I think you've got something here. Come and do this. Or you get told to fuck off.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I'd had a tap on the shoulder. I was the one tapping. I was more than tapping. I was shaking them.
See, that's the thing that I think is fantastic, though, because that's a unique experience as well. Yeah. That's a journey which you're able to share with us now around how that happened for you. Going to the gym, getting told off at first class, but going back and going, you know what? No. I want to do this. There's something in this that I want to be able to do. How did that happen for you, man? How did you get from just being a participant to then going to do the training?
Yeah, it's that stubbornness of mind and just the absolute like infatuation with the whole thing, like the music, the outfits, which were hysterical.
Yep.
Thinking back on them, I'm like, oh my word! But so much fun. The energy in the room. I mean, group fitness today has evolved far beyond anything that we were ever doing back then. But at a local level, at a club level, that energy doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like just there's nothing else to do.
Yep.
There's no internet.
Yep.
There's nothing else going on in the city.
Yep.
So let's go do this thing, and 200 people show up for a Monday night body attack class. And it's like it's insane.
Love it.
So just that whole thing, and I think that certainly stayed with me the whole time is because I was that super fan member, the person who was just a little bit too keen. and who was always annoying the instructors, like, hey, Glenn, can I train with you?
Yep.
Glenn, can I just do practice? And Glenn must have been like, dude, I just want to do my practice, man. Like, do you have to be here every Tuesday? Really? Every time? But to his credit, Glenn is a really, really generous human being and never told me to go away.
Yeah.
He never once told me to piss off.
Yep.
He's an awesome human. And not just Glenn, all of the instructors who gave me a chance.
Yep.
But that's something that I try to be conscious of and pay forward now. If I see somebody now who's that person, I always have, like, my thought is empathy, is like, I know what it's like to be in your shoes.
Yeah.
You know, I try to, like, guide and shepherd that person to channel their energy in a constructive way so they can move in the direction that they want to go. So that's why the story stays with me so much, because now I'm in the position of being the gatekeeper, if you like, of those opportunities. And so when I get somebody who's that little bit too keen and just like, let me at it, coach. And I'm like, hey, I love your energy, bro. Let's channel it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's not, and that's I think is a genuine trait to have, and not, you know, I and no disrespect to anyone that's listening or watching, but I think the instructors or trainers out there that shun that away and stop it, you know, and poo-poo on someone's dream, there's no reason to. As you said, you harness that energy and turn it into something. Now, whether that means that it's turned into them being an instructor, or whether it just means that they're turned into being as good as they can possibly be, being a participant, or use the energy to further develop them in some way. I think having the skill set as you've got to use that and turn that energy from that person into something else is key, man. That's valid, because it's a unique skill set for us to have as trainers and presenters, to see whether they have what it takes to go to the next level. You know, you can see someone that's got all the energy in the world and all the enthusiasm in the world, but if they don't have it, you know, I mean, as you said in the beginning, you didn't have rhythm. Yeah, you found your rhythm along the way because someone nurtured you through that journey and that experience as well. But I think, as you said in that comment before, was when you find someone that has that skill or has that passion and drive, you've got to make sure that it's right. Otherwise, you're just going to lead them down a path of, oh, shit, you know, you shouldn't have gone and done this because, you're left and you're right. You have no idea which is left and which is right in that way.
I mean, everyone deserves a crack at it. Everyone deserves an opportunity. Yep. And certainly in my role now, I work as a group fitness manager now. I have that opportunity to let people have a go. Yeah. To let them have a go and find out. And one of the things that's amazing is how quickly people will self-filter, how quickly people will once you've said, hey, okay, cool, here's some choreography notes, let's get together, let's do a couple of sessions, and they have a go at it. And some people discover this is a lot more work than I was expecting, and that's not something I want to do, which is fine. Other people fall in love and rock on, and we're great. And some people have a go and they suddenly think, oh, I don't have the aptitude for what we're doing here. And sometimes, like people like me, they double down and they go, I'm going to substitute natural ability for hard work. And I will just do as much as it takes, as long as it takes to get where I want to go. And I love those people, and I could name a half a dozen instructors that I've trained who did the exact same thing. They were like, I'm not very good at this, and I don't care, and I'm just going to work as long and as hard as I need to get where I want to go. And some people don't, and that's fine. But you can't say that if you embrace them and you give them that opportunity, then they will never feel like they were excluded from being part of it. You know, and that's important, because a lot of those people are our number one raving super fans. And if we push them away and if we treat them like, oh, yeah, you're cool, you can be part of the group, but only so long as you stay in your place. Like, we want you to be a fan, but we don't want you to be part of our crowd. Then
the us and them.
Cool.
Oh, yes,
that's not cool. It's like, well, have a go. And if you're good at it, great.
Brilliant.
You know?
This is the Group X podcast. I like how you said, though, I think a lot of people do have that self-awareness as well and know if they're good, or, you know, no, hang on, this isn't for me.
I think
I'll just sit back here and come
at some point
Yeah, I'll just sit back here every Tuesday and come to Giles' class, and I'll be happy. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
Maybe with a
content with that.
newfound appreciation
Yeah,
of how hard it is.
of what it is. Yeah, yeah.
And you're right. And some people don't develop that awareness as early,
Yes.
but almost everybody will reach a point
Yep.
where it's either go or no go for them.
Yeah.
Almost everybody will get to a certain stage. And I'm very fortunate in that I work for Les Mills New Zealand, and we have the resources and are prepared to invest those resources in group fitness managers having the opportunity to do that with potential instructors.
Yep.
So we can spend a few hours of our time with these people over the course of X amount of weeks or whatever to give them the chance to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas not everybody has that opportunity, and that's more difficult.
Can you talk us through your experience with your training then for your first module, the first program you did? You said back then it was 6 weeks.
Didn't have a module, mate. There was no module.
Talk us through what it was.
I was grandfathered into the process. I was 3-4 years into teaching programs before they went, oh, hey, we've come up with this great new idea. We call it module training. And I'm like, oh, now you come up with this great new idea. Thanks. They're like, yeah, you all need to go. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, we just need to tick those boxes now.
Cool story.
But what was it? What did you go through? Is it so different to what module training is now?
Yeah.
Was it just the A4 sheet of paper double-sided and that was it?
Yeah. I started on cassette tapes.
I love
Tony.
that.
I started on
That's
cassette
excellent.
tapes, and we used to make up. And this is going to sound like the whole, like, when I went to school, we were barefoot and we walked uphill both ways through the snow kind of thing. But I'm not even joking. This is not made up. I'm not inventing the story.
Yeah.
When I started teaching, we used cassette tapes.
Yep.
Okay, cool. But we also made our own microphones. They were the fancy new thing. We used to buy the little microphone capsule-y thing with the cable that goes onto the end of it.
Yeah.
And that would have like a short little stubby piece of coat hanger wire. We used to get a coat hanger, we used to use some wire snips, and then we used to use electrical tape and tape the cable to the coat hanger, and then we'd bend it and make it the right shape to go over our head. And that would last about 3 months before it died.
No way.
But they weren't expensive at the time,
Now,
but that was all we could get. We couldn't get any of the stuff that you get today. I'm sure it existed, but good luck getting it in Christchurch.
Let me ask you this question then, because I don't know, or maybe I should have done my homework beforehand. How old are you?
Oh, mate, 43 years and proud of it.
And when
winning.
did you started obviously from an exceptionally young age then?
Yeah.
Because if we're going back to cassettes, we're like late 90s, yeah?
Yep. So I joined Les Mills in, I think, 1994. Had to get my mother to sign off because I was under 16.
Yeah.
Yep. And I started teaching like just practice teaching in 96 and then started teaching properly in 97.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So it's 26 years now.
I didn't even know what a gym was back then. I mean, I'm a couple of years older than you, but I hadn't even found the gym yet. I'd always walk past it and gone, oh, yeah.
It's just that confluence, sliding doors.
Yeah,
yeah. I wound up a gym bunny from a very, very early age, and that colours that whole, like, he was a little bit too keen because I had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, my frontal lobe was still very far from being fully formed, you know. My social skills were still developing, and I'm the first to admit that, you know, I was a little bit awkward and a little bit uncomfortably socially when I was a teenager. I had to learn all of those things in a gym for adults as a teenage person.
Yeah.
So that's reflected now in the empathy that I have as an adult when I see those people coming through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so coming back to your question, we had none of the stuff that we have today. You know, I did the 6-week course for aerobics with Sue Toomey. Shout out to Sue Toomey if she's still around. And she did the training for us, which was not Les Mills. She'd invented it and written it. We did that, and then they chucked me in. They said, "Cool, so you're just gonna teach with this guy." And it wasn't Glenn Glenn was like the number one instructor in the club. They're like, "No, you don't get to team teach with Glenn. You get to team teach in the off-peak class where no one can see how bad you are."
There's an honesty.
yeah, back in the day. And so I was team teaching, and it was literally, as you said, like they photocopied A4 sheets, and the choreography notes were just typed out, like Microsoft Word typed out.
That's brilliant.
Back in the day, and a cassette tape which, pretty fancy. They'd got a plastic sticker on it that said body attack, typed like fancy. Woof. And just doing the whole dubbing your own mixes onto your own cassette tape kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hoping that the tape machine didn't eat the cassette.
Yeah.
You develop really good skills at ad-libbing when the tape machine eats your cassette tape.
Yeah.
And we did that, and then we developed great skills at picking up where the beat was when the CD player skipped because we jumped too hard.
Yes.
Went through that phase.
Yeah.
And then I was the first person in my gym to buy an MP3 player, the precursor to the iPod.
Yes.
Because I was like a young teenage adult, who's always the early adopter in any group.
Yep.
And so I'm like, these things will be great. They're the future. We should have these. Our gym should use these. These will be awesome. We'll never skip again.
Yep.
And this first thing that I bought, this MP3 player, I had to put it on like a foam mat with like springs because it was a hard disk. And it just skipped all the time.
So it would skip as well.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Wow.
It was
That was like the first iPod that I ever got. I just remember it was black with a red circle on it. They did the same thing because it was a hard disk. Yeah. But also when you were recording the CD onto your computer, you had to make sure you didn't bump anything because the same thing had happened. Yeah, and then that was it. You had the skip in there for eternity because that's what you'd recorded a lot.
A lot of classes where you teach the class and you go, okay, everybody hang on. Okay, let's go again. It was in your script.
Yeah.
Those
That's
days,
brilliant.
Developing the skills.
You've seen the evolution then of the programs, and what release was that in Attack?
Ooh.
Did they have numbers back then?
Yeah, no, they did. Because we went from don't quote me. I'm sure Susan Renata will come in and just like bomb the podcast and correct me on this one. I think they used to call it Jazzagetics.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I think they went from like Jazzagetics, blah, blah, blah. And then they went to Body Attack 1. So it was the same program.
Yep.
And it just went straight across. And
and
I think that's the oldest of the actual pre-choreographed programs that they had for Les Mills, was that program that is now called Body Attack.
Yeah.
Some of the other programs were branded earlier.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I personally started teaching on Body Attack 16, I think it was.
Yep.
That was the first release they gave me, 16 or 17.
That's brilliant. Remember. How much has that program changed? I mean, I don't teach Attack. I've watched Attack because my wife Rach was a presenter and trainer here in Australia for years, but I've not. I've done it once. I did one class with her, like she did one RPM class with me, and then we both said, "Yeah, maybe not." Yeah. She didn't like riding the bike, and I didn't like running around doing that. And I was like, "Yeah, no." So how much
make me a unicorn? Because I like both things.
Yeah,
it's weird. Yeah.
So the program's obviously changed a hell of a lot, but how much has it changed since the first module, the first training you did and the first class you did? How much has it changed, or what have you seen change and evolve over that time?
An awful lot, and not as much as you might think.
Okay. Yep.
So the heart of what that group exercise class is the same.
Yep.
It is still free movement. It is still basic, I suppose you would call them calisthenics-based exercises, jumping jacks and knee lifts and squats and lunges and things like that. So it's still got that basic fundamental principle that it started with. It's sort of that running-based athletic type workout. But in terms of sort of the details and the variations that have happened along the way, it's just, wildly shifted across the decades.
Yeah.
We used to do grapevines, and there would be all sorts of very complicated arm lines going in there. We went through phases where we had 2 peaks, but in those 2 peaks we used to do just a ridiculous amount of the same exercise. I believe at one point Mike McSweeney was quite heavily involved with the program, so it was just a sufferfest during those days. And I think I would have loved that. That was a little bit before me, but I think I would have really enjoyed that at the time. So it sort of went through that phase. Then it became a 3-peak program, so 3 tracks of 3 peaks. And that happened for a little while, and they started to just the first inklings of scientize, like sciencey basis to the program, and some more plyometric exercises and some agility stuff came in.
Yep.
We went back to 2 peaks. That was after Lisa took over. So when Lisa came into the program, she brought us back to 2 slightly longer peaks, which just made better sense. It gave you a chance to build a higher cardiovascular intensity through continuous training. And then her tenure as the program director has really evolved the program in both the musicality. I would certainly say that Lisa has an absolute gift of finding the right song for the right exercise at the right place in the class.
Excellent.
She's absolutely like magic at it. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't even know how you would come up with that, but she does.
Yep.
And at the same time, recognizing the exercise science benefits and the things that we can introduce that sit alongside that creativity of the program. And I think that's where that product sits today. Is it's an excellent blend of very simple calisthenics-based, aerobics-based exercises with a great applied sports science aspect to it.
Brilliant. Nice to hear. What other programs are you trained in?
I've trained a lot of things, man.
Well, should the question be, what haven't you trained in?
Yeah. No, so, I mean, in terms of the things that I've trained in, body attack was my first love.
Yep.
I learnt to teach the Les Mills circuit class that we used to do. Then after that, I learned to teach body step, which was a case of the group fitness manager giving me the music and the notes and saying, your team teaching on Tuesday. I'll see you there.
Let me ask you this question then. Had you participated in step before?
No.
This? Oh, that's perfect.
No. He's like, I need a new stepper. You're it.
You're it. Yeah, here's the notes. Go for it, man. Yep, see you Tuesday.
So body step. RPM came after body step.
Yep.
So I joined RPM early doors. I think I came in, what was the release that we had, song 2?
Oh, with Blur.
12 or 13?
Yeah.
So early doors.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was fun.
Wow.
That was fun. Used to cramp in every single RPM class because we used to always ride on the beat.
Yep.
We weren't allowed to slow down in some tracks.
Yep.
And I just used to ride along in every class. Cramp, 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 cramp.
So song 2 by Blur, that was a track 7, wasn't it?
It was.
It was, phenomenal. Yeah. Oh, I haven't thought about that one in years.
Yeah. It's definitely a classic fave.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not prepared to go quite so far back as to do Riverdance. That's a little extreme.
Yeah. That is in there, though. That is in the collection I have.
For the kids. Google Riverdance. Yes. You'll get what we mean.
That's one thing that I remember Rach telling me too, my wife, is that Riverdance was used as part of the training module for attack.
Yeah, the body attack fitness magic or performance drill.
Yeah.
It's better in that than it is in RPM.
Yes, yeah. Look, the RPM one was good. Don't get me wrong; it was a great track for RPM. But from what I'm told, yes.
People would look at you like you had lost your damn mind if you played that today. Like, what are you doing, man?
Have you mixed up the iPod or something? What's going on?
Is this your pre-class?
Your Spotify playlist has taken over, hasn't it?
Take it home, Grandad. Go on. But no, it's actually a fabulous performance drill. I did it a few years ago. We've moved on now, but I did it a few years ago, and one of the other trainers was like, "Did you make that up yourself, Giles? It's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, was that your own idea?" I'm like, "Mate, that is not me. That is all that is from the originals. That is a Pete Manuel, Emma Barry, Steve Renata special. Right there.
Yep. Mate, some legends right there you've just mentioned as well, and let's just take a moment to Mike McSweeney. You mentioned him before, and just recently we know that he's left us. He's moved on. Such a massive loss for the industry, and even though he hasn't been involved for many years, the man pioneered a hell of a lot of what we're doing out there today, and a lot of respect goes out to everyone that he's impacted in some way, shape or form. Yeah,
we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for Mike.
100%, mate. Well, look, thank you for saying that as well. Yeah, I had a recent conversation with Bus Hollander, and same thing, man. I said the same thing to him. You know, I think it was even Adam Rigby as well. Chat that I've got just went out the other day. That I wouldn't be here If it wasn't for him doing the programs and me walking into a gym, there's no chance I'd be doing what I've done or sitting here, as you said, talking to you right now. You know, we've been connected because of what that man did and what Les Mills has done. You know, it's
just
huge.
a force of nature.
Yeah.
Force of nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Unbelievable presence.
So what other programs? You've TAC, Step, RPM. What else you trained in?
RPM, Body Pump came after RPM. It was relatively late in the journey. Then I trained in Body Combat as well.
Yep.
I trained in Body Jam just because people told me I couldn't. Again, being stubborn. I was like, I'll show you.
You found some rhythm then along the way here, because every program you've given me here, there's musicality in there that you've got to be able to move to the beat in some way, shape, or form.
Oh yeah,
so
most definitely. I think that was the limit of my ability to move to the beat. Body Jam was the one where I found my limit. I found my boundary.
Look, I've told this story before, and I'll share it with you now. When Zumba first hit our shores here in Australia, I was a Group X manager at Fitness First in North Sydney, and we all the Group X managers were brought together to a studio to, hey, this is what Zumba is. We're going to trial it out. Now, I have no rhythm, when it comes to dancing. I'm the dad that moves side to side, the typical dad dance type thing, the
stereotypical RPM instructor, mate.
Yeah. Look, I've trained in a few other programs apart from RPM, but that's
True that.
At the moment.
I've been listening. I've been listening to the podcast.
But it's the Zumba was, my hips don't swing, man. They just move from side to side in a horizontal movement. And I had Maria Theresa Stone come up and try and help me and swing my hips, and there was just nothing. And I realized very quickly then that, Tony, no, you won't be doing dance programs ever as an instructor. No, mate, you're not. Just sit back and watch, because that's, we'll stick with that. So I hear you with the rhythm and the dance programs completely, mate.
Yeah. Reached my limit there. I did the module. I did my module training for Body Jam was with the fabulous Rachel Newsham.
Yep.
And we had a great time, and I supplemented my lack of natural dancing ability by just being incredibly extra.
Yep.
Just like taking, I can't even remember the name of the track, but apparently everybody in the room, like I taught the track like it was just like I was on fire.
Yep.
Literally, taught the track, and everybody afterwards was like, "Oh my gosh, it was a great performance, Giles.
Yep.
What a great performance!" I'm like, "Good, you didn't notice how badly I danced. That was the objective of that. Got my certification,
Tick.
got my pass. Taught for a couple of months, but I would prepare for like 3-4 hours a class, just to teach one class, and I was a full-time group fitness professional at that particular point, and I was like, I've had a good time, but it doesn't make any sense. The business case doesn't work here. So, I hung up my sneakers on that particular one, having proved my point.
Yep.
And moved on.
So what about trip, sprint, grit, those ones? Have you trained in?
I haven't trained in trip, because when I did the trip, it triggered my dislike of roller coasters. And I did not appreciate the experience.
Yep.
But when I stand and watch trip for the back of the room, I'm just like, damn, that looks good.
Yeah.
Like that is such a cool workout.
Yep.
It's just not a workout that I can physically do.
Weirdly enough,
without feeling weird.
my experience has been the complete opposite to that.
Cool.
If I stand there, I get dizzy and think I'm going to fall over. If I'm on a bike and I'm moving,
doesn't bother you.
No, everything just goes with it. And I was like, wow, because when I stood there at first, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. The club manager was like, just get on the bike and give this a shot, see how you go. And I was like, oh, I don't think they're like, Tone, just experience it. Jumped on and did, and that was that vertigo sensation that I got just disappeared.
Cool,
I was
man.
like, wow, this is, because I was totally submerged myself and everything was going on through it. So the whole movement was happening, and because my legs were moving at the same time instead of just standing still, I didn't feel like I was going to fall over. It's like the first time I jumped on and put the Oculus on and did some kites flying. Oh my God. Yeah, that standing in the one spot, and I had a desk in front of me and almost smashed into it, and had to sit down for 20 minutes afterwards and just get my balance back and go, that virtual reality when I'm standing still, pass. This is the Group X podcast.
Once my club down here in Dunedin, once we get Trip installed, I'll have to give it another burl. But
Yeah, give
I
it a
am
shot and see,
trained
man.
in sprint and grit. I
Yep.
trained with the crew, so we trained in grit when we were launching it.
Cool.
So I
Yeah.
helped out with just trialing some of the classes.
Yeah.
Myself and Mid Thomas and a few others, we helped trial grit cardio for Lisa.
Yep.
So I trained from Grit 1. I'm not actively teaching grit anymore either, not because I don't like grit.
Yep.
It's just, I'm just let the kids come through and dominate, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, when we started, nobody else wanted to teach it.
Yep.
We was like, what's that all about? That doesn't look any good. No one's going to want to do that. I was
Mate,
like,
it's
I
taken
think
off.
you might be wrong.
Yeah, it's taken off, especially you. It's huge.
But sprint is definitely one of my babies. It's one of
Yep.
my most cherished classes now. I love sprint.
Love that. How did the opportunity come up for you to be on masterclass filming?
So I was in the UK.
Okay.
So when I left Christchurch, where I started my journey, and I went to Dunedin, which is where we've actually moved back to just a few months ago. I came to university here, and Les Mills Dunedin, for those who don't know, has a reputation as being sort of the kindergarten or the sort of birthplace of a lot of Les Mills' greatest presenters.
Yep.
So people
Cool.
like Steve Renata
Yep.
cut their teeth here.
Yep.
Susan Renata cut her teeth here. And more recently, Erin Moore
Yes.
and Ben Main
Yep.
have come out of this club. So I'd spent 4 years here, developing, learning, growing, just in a similar way. And when I finished, rather than go back to Auckland, I decided to do my OE. And so I went to London, UK. And that's where my career really developed.
Yeah.
So from 2003 until 2010, I was based in the UK.
Wow.
And once again, still stubborn enough and silly enough to think, I can do this.
Yep.
Why not? Why can't I do this? So yeah, still in that mindset, still young enough and dumb enough to believe that I could do anything. So I applied to be a trainer in the UK.
Brilliant.
So not in New Zealand. I'd sort of just done a few quarterly workshop in New Zealand. They'd sent me to a boot campy type thing, or the precursor of the boot campy type thing, but hadn't really secured any sort of position.
Yeah.
I'd gone up to Auckland once for a group fitness workshop, just as like a trainee, just to shadow some stuff and see what it was all about. And I got to watch, the late great Mike and Steve and was it Emma Barry on stage, and teaching body pump. Like, wow. But off to the UK for me.
Yep.
And that's where I got onto the trainer team over there and just applied my craft, developed myself over there. And so that's how I came to be on Masterclass.
Okay.
I was just like a member of LMAP. I was put forward by my training manager as a body attack presenter for consideration. And Lisa was generous enough, kind enough to accept that invitation or accept that request and invite me to come out to film Body Attack 64.
Wow.
Was my first filming.
Yeah.
So I was effectively an overseas instructor, presenter coming into Les Mills.
Even though you'd already been part of the Les Mills New Zealand.
It was very
team.
confusing for people.
Yeah.
People still to this day are like, so are you English?
Yeah.
I'm like, doesn't sound like a duck, does it?
I'll be honest. I did a bit of research before getting you on to have a chat, and when I saw it from the UK, I was like, "Dude, that dude doesn't sound English." Nah, there you go. There's the story behind. Yes.
There's a lot of great trainers on the UK team who aren't from the UK.
From the UK, yeah.
It's a wonderful melting pot of a country, and I love it dearly. A lot of my best friends and people who I consider family are from the UK trainer team.
Yeah. So how was that experience for you then with 64? How was
Body
that?
Attack 64. Woof.
Yeah. Cast your mind back for me.
It was very different to the way that we film now. So that was back when filming was a full week per program.
Yep.
So you arrived 7 days before the filming date of your program to prepare. and we'd actually just stopped doing the let's do as many classes in a week as we can and see who survives kind of process. They were sort of touting it as we're a little bit more reformed now. We're only going to do one class a day and a practice, and sometimes two classes, but maybe only maybe 45-minute class.
I like hearing those stories because it's almost the rite of passage, isn't it? It's like, right, we're going to see how many we can do and see who's hanging on by the end of this.
Yeah.
And let's push ourselves, because we know if we can go there, we can come back to here where we really need to be.
Yeah. And for body attack, we do taper. We did taper. So it would be quite a heavy workload in days 1 through 4.
Yep.
And then days 5 through 7, you'd sort of just back off a little bit, so you had all that energy in the tank for the filming day.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience for, what was I then, 27, 28-year-old Giles.
Yep.
To come back home to New Zealand and spend time with the crew, with Lisa, and just have that filming experience. What's very interesting about that is that, and I think hopefully it's less now, but at the time it was very true, is that there's a lot of loss in translation.
Yep.
Or there was a lot of lost in translation stuff. So even though you're not translating languages, you're translating cultures and you're translating ideas, and trying to do that around the globe is quite difficult. So there's a lot of intrinsic and unspoken culture that goes into Les Mills programs, or went into Les Mills programs.
Yep.
And it was very difficult for LMI to really communicate that, even to the presenters. So coming back from the UK, having been there for 5 or 6 years at that point, they were like, okay, cool. So I know you're a Kiwi, but can you just shut up a bit more? Because I'd gotten into the UK style of teaching at that time was very much, we were great educators.
Yep.
Great educators. We were very, very intelligent instructor base in the UK, and really competent in exercise science and like how to execute moves and how to improve technique and improve execution. But what we weren't as good at was experience. Sometimes just stopping talking and letting the music carry the conversation.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about the British culture, you're like, that kind of does make sense. Like awkward silences are not enjoyed over there. So, that was definitely something that I had to relearn, is like just shut up and let the music do the talking.
Yeah. Like
just be in the moment.
That's interesting. I like hearing that, because that shows a self-awareness for you as well, but also for the program, and the realization that things need to happen in a certain way in order to attract or retain or keep the attention of who's in front of us when we're teaching.
Oh yeah, big time. And different markets are different.
Yeah.
So different cultures, different environments. You certainly, you can come from New Zealand and go straight to somewhere like the UK or France or America or wherever and teach lights out, and the people will love it. And we know that because we have international presenters. You travel around the world across cultures, and there's things that translate and travel. But there's also nuance within each culture. The British market love funny. They love humour. So a funny instructor will just absolutely teach lights out over there. Whereas in New Zealand, they're not quite so interested in that. It's not that they don't have a sense of humour here or anything. It's just the goals or ambitions of people who come to classes in New Zealand not quite as aligned with that. So they're less engaged by humour. It's not, we like a good joke. Like I tell jokes in my classes here all the time. But also the people who are like, cool, that was funny. Now let's get on with it.
Yeah. No, look, I appreciate that too. I think that's, as a participant, I agree. Yeah. You can have your funny moment, brilliant, let's get on with it. We're here to train. We're here to do this. And I think you're right, though, in saying that different countries, and even I'd say here in Australia, different gyms will have different aspects of that. There'll be some gyms here that just want the clown or want that performance magic that is theatrical and flamboyant and over the top. But then you walk into some other clubs and it's like, no, we don't do that here. We're here to train. Yeah. And no, I don't care about your personality. I don't care about your flamboyancy, whatever. No. Just get on with teaching me, coaching me. Let's do this. Tell me why I'm doing what I'm doing and how it's going to help me. Excellent. Then allow me to get out of here because I'm a busy man and a busy woman and I've got stuff to do. So yeah, it's different, I suppose, but it's good to hear that that's what's happening in other countries as well, as you're saying, for difference between the UK and also what's happening in NZ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm only speaking from my frame of reference.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there would be people listening to this conversation thinking, yes, and in my country we like it like this.
Yes.
You know, and they'd be right.
Yeah.
And then there's that, and then there's the universality. You know, certain things are universal.
Yes.
You know, group fitness or exercise to music. There's one constant. It's the music.
Yeah. Look, I think that's when you strip it all down, the personality of the instructor. That instructor will be a great instructor if they know their audience and know who's in front of them and teach to who's in front of them. You know, if you have a they call the straighty 180s that just in there to do their thing and you try and crack a joke. Crickets, and it's not going to land, you know. And I think that's the brilliance of the program, is that you can have your own flair when you need to, which makes that program unique to you, but also unique to your participants that are in front of you as well.
Yeah.
It lands.
And, I mean, you're talking about mastery, like that's sort of a mastery of connection, of the art of connection and the art of tailoring your delivery to the audience in front of you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a high level skill that you're talking about there, because the ability to not just see your audience and see like, oh, this person's squat is a little too high, or that person needs to realign their elbow or whatever, but also to look at faces and to see body language and to read that and interpret it and to be like, okay, so the guy in the back row, second from the left, thinks I'm hilarious. Yeah. Okay, but my front row, not so much. Yeah. So, you know, I give him a little one-liner every so often, and then I'm also going to just immediately flip-flop and just drop in on the front row and be like, hey, how's the intensity down here? Yeah. You know, and that sort of ability, that nuance is something that if you see it and you see it in instructors, you definitely want to hang on to that instructor because they're gold. Yeah. Yeah. They're your gems in the club.
Now, you mentioned before you're also a group fitness manager. Can you talk to me about your group fitness manager role as well? Because I want to jump to that for a second, only because we've spoken about instructors. Then I'd love to go back to the trainer-presenter side of what you do as well. Going to be a good one. So Group X management is a big thing for me and my passion that I've got here, which is part of why this whole podcast and group exercise thing happened here. As a Group X manager, or group fitness manager, as you guys call them in New Zealand, what is the main... Can you tell us the main purpose of your role in there, for Les Mills New Zealand?
That's a great question. I should probably have like a one-liner for that.
My
boss is probably going to be like, Giles, we just talked about this.
Who's your boss again? I'll write him down.
Ben Ciola.
Okay, Ben, I'm going to have a chat to you too.
The group fitness manager for Les Mills New Zealand. Yep. Who is a fabulous human being. Yep. And very understanding, and I'm sure he'll forgive me. He knows I've been up for a long time already today because we've spoken about 4 times today. So my primary role, it depends on the club. Yep. Tony, it depends on the club. So I've been working in group fitness management on and off for the better part of almost a decade now. And in some clubs, you're going to be very much a manager. And you might have a large team of mostly very experienced professionals who don't necessarily require huge amounts of your coaching and guidance skill, but they may require your support. They may require you to run a good, efficient ship with, the studios need to be in good shape. You need to do lots of member comms. You need to communicate effectively to the team what the goals are, what we're trying to achieve, and do that sort of stuff, manager stuff. And you do that no matter what. Yep. But in some gyms, you do a lot more of it. Yep. And in other gyms, such as the gym that I'm in right now, your role is going to be more like a shepherd.
Yep.
And in the gym I'm in right now, the vast majority of my team are in the first 3 years of their group fitness experience, their journey.
Nice.
So for me right now, what I'm really focused on is helping them to, as rapidly as possible, access their potential.
Yep.
So there's a lot of coaching, there's a lot of guidance, there's a lot of encouragement and support going on that side of the table.
Yeah.
Which is a very different thing.
Yeah. That's I really like hearing that, and to me that's very valid. That even though that's where the focus is for your team, I still think that is a focus that is part of the role anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'm probably going to go out on a limb here, and I'm probably going to have some listeners that get the shits with me for saying this, but tough shit, my podcast. If you don't like it, tune out.
Is it a good podcast if someone isn't angry with you?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
really?
True. So true. I'm not landing if it's, it's not landing with them if no one's got the shits or no one's talking about it. So it's a skill set that I think some, not all, some Group X managers don't possess. Yep. The Group X manager role over here, and I'm happy to be proven wrong by this, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to. The majority of Group X managers find covers, update a timetable, maybe fill in some numbers from a number sheet if there's one around that's doing it. Otherwise, it's automatic, however that's done, and maybe doing the pays. I'm yet to see a Group X manager evolve a team properly, because part of it would be because they're not giving enough hours to do the role properly.
Yeah.
But I think they also don't have the skill set. And that's not everybody, but that's I'd say a good majority of Group X managers that I see and know of here in Australia have been given the role because they were a great instructor. Now, being a great instructor doesn't automatically mean that you're a great manager. Being a manager of a team of so many different personalities and so many different varied skill set is a unique skill set to have in yourself to be able to manage those people. And as you've said, the over the 10 years or so you've been doing this, the focus for you right now in your team, because they're so young, is to bring them, evolve and get them up to do what they've got to do. So a lot of your energy and effort is going into that side of your skill set to help those guys out.
Yeah. I think, I'll tell you what, I'll take your outrageous statement and then I'll double down on it and see if we can piss off some more people with it.
Let's go. Yeah.
And I'll make friends with the people you pissed off and piss off a whole different group of people.
Yep.
What I would suggest, and this is what is not the case with Les Mills New Zealand, so let's just get that straight away out there, because that's what we do quite well as a business. What I would suggest is, for a lot of group fitness or Group X managers, first of all, they've probably not necessarily been given the name Group X manager because they can call them a manager and then not have to pay them as much because it's like an ego stroke. They're not really been given a management role. They've been given an administrator or coordinator role and been called a manager so that they don't ask for more money.
Yep.
So let's start there. Now, a whole bunch of club managers and not club managers, but business owners will be, oh, that guy, what a dick. Don't tell people this, it's true. But also, the thing that you've just described there is like, whose responsibility is that? Whose responsibility is it that your group fitness manager doesn't necessarily have the skill set or the training and development to be able to do the things that we've just discussed? Is it a fault of the person who's been put in the role, or is it the responsibility of the people who hire the people who do that job?
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. So, and again, there's a lot more complexity there. So I'm not trying to throw everybody in the group fitness industry under the bus and say, oh, it's your fault.
Yep.
It is a flaw that spreads across the entire industry.
Yes.
And we're all trapped in that space.
Yep.
And we're just doing the best that we can with the resources that we have available to us.
Yep.
But if possible, what I would suggest is that the businesses where they are able to invest the time and the money to recruit and or train really competent group fitness managers, those businesses get that repaid to them
Yep.
in performance.
Yeah.
And I think you had for the listeners, rather than go back over the content that was already gone over, I think you had an excellent chat with Susan Renata about this.
Yep.
And she talked about measuring performance and statistics and being able to actually demonstrate the value of this part of the business of a gym to the broader gym.
Yeah.
It is not a cost center. It is a profit machine.
This is the Group X podcast.
If you deliver it properly
Yeah.
to the business.
Yep. I totally agree with that. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday who wanted, or I'm saying we'll keep them anonymous. We'll let them remain anonymous. The chat we were having was with relation to if you were to take group exercise out of a gym, how much would your bottom line?
Gyms don't have it.
How much would your bottom line affect? How much would it affect your bottom line if you were to turn off Group X? There straight away is I'll give you the value of what Group X does in your club. Yeah, let's have a look at it and go, okay, this is the total attendance we get into the centre per week. This is the total attendance we get into Group X per week. And
So
we have a look
distracted. We're getting
I
bombed
love
by
that.
my Labrador right now.
Yes.
If you're just listening and not watching any video, yeah.
Yeah, what's
the
your lad's
Labrador
name?
has made an appearance. This is Ferdinand. We call him
Ferdinand.
Ferdy. Yeah,
Love
he's
it.
decided that he needs to be stroked.
Ah, gorgeous. Hey, Ferdinand.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like the value of group fitness can be measured very easily, although I don't think anybody would actually want to carry out that experiment because they know it would cost them a lot of money.
Well, that's the thing I look at. It's a lot of clubs that I've chatted to and a lot of clubs out there you see they still see it as a cost centre. And yes, you know what, it is a cost centre. It costs the business something to run it. However, the profit that you're actually getting or the retention you're getting and what's actually happening because of running group exercise. Yeah, the stats we used to say it was 2.3 times, or Ursa's figure was around 2.3 to 3 times, 2 visits a week that people would actually have in group exercise. So let's even look at that as a figure. Are clubs trying to tell us that people that do group exercise also go to the gym? You know what? There's probably a percentage that do. But there's probably a good percentage. So. There's a good percentage that probably wouldn't go, when I say the gym, go to, the weight section and that kind of stuff. A lot of them would just be coming to do the group exercise classes. So those clubs that tell me that, no, it's just a cost center and no, it costs too much. If it costs you $2,000 a week to run your group exercise as an example, how much are you really making per week by running that? I tell you what's a hell of a lot more and you're covering your costs and some, to get it happening. So that to me is that frustration. But the big thing to me is that if you have a group exercise manager that's on the ball, that's doing their job properly, your group exercise department is going to be successful. If you have a group exercise manager that is in there and just, as we're saying, doing the admin or continually managing what's going on, not developing, group exercise isn't going to grow. You're going to start having issues because instructors aren't going to be knowing the direction they're headed in. Yeah. Different. I'd say probably different for LMNZ. And you guys are with the mothership and Mecca over there are leading the way of what's happening. And more clubs need to see how that process actually works and understand that and allow their Group X manager here to actually do the job they've got to do. There is more than admin in a Group X manager's role.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the first thing to say is what we don't want to have anyone listening to this take away from it is, it's easy for you to say you come from Les Mills, New Zealand, and they give you a ton of money and nice to be you, but we live in the real world kind of response because we are far from the only example in the global fitness industry of a club or a chain of clubs that has invested time and money and effort into their group fitness management program of group fitness management, which is systemized and achieved profit and success off the basis of that.
Yeah.
There are examples in pretty much every market you can find of businesses that have done the exact same thing in their own way with their own approach, and not even just Les Mills businesses, like other group fitness as well. And they get success.
Yeah.
They make profit off the basis of it.
Yep.
It's not easy. I think that the challenging part there is it can be intimidating and it can be a little bit off-putting if you are a manager of a business and you don't have any understanding of group fitness. Maybe you don't like group fitness, which is fine.
Yep.
And then you're faced with a group fitness department that you're ostensibly, it's underneath your management.
Yeah.
And you've got to try and run that. And so it can sometimes seem a little bit easier to just be like, oh, well, I'm not going to worry about that.
Yep.
I think you can dismiss it as it's just a cost center, and then wash your hands of it and leave it to go. And in some businesses, they can see it as, well, we offer group fitness classes because it sells memberships.
Yeah. Yep.
And we're not really worried about whether or not they're any good
Yep.
or anything else about them, because once we've sold the membership, that's the job done.
Yeah.
And turnover is turnover, and we'll just keep selling more memberships.
Yeah.
And what you've just alluded to, and what we know through the research that we've done, especially Les Mills, who've conducted years and years of research into this, is that your costs go down. Your cost for acquisition goes down, and your cost for retention goes down when you manage this part of your business really well. And it spills over into other parts of your business as well, because you create a culture within your business of, we want to have our members join and come to the gym.
Yes.
So we want them to pay us money
Yep.
to come to the gym.
Yes.
And so group fitness is a great part, not the only part, but a great part of our product offering.
Yes.
And the cost per visit for group fitness is low compared to the other costs in the business.
Yep.
The cost per square meter of running a group fitness studio is low compared to the cost of having, hey buddy, so compared to the cost of having, treadmills. Like, treadmills cost a lot of money.
Yes. Yes.
Rowers cost a lot of money. If you're going to kit out a functional studio, and we're doing that at Les Mills now.
Yep.
So Les Mills Dunedin is we're moving to a new site.
Yep.
And so we're going to be fitting out some functional training studios in there.
Nice.
The toys that we're putting in there, man,
Yeah.
like, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
They're very expensive.
Yeah.
Compared to, a bit of carpet and a kick-ass stereo.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you think, you step back as a manager and you're thinking, okay, cool. If I'm ambitious and I want to get the most out, and I really want to get the most out of my gym, and I have a group fitness offering and space for group fitness, if I can recruit the right talent to be my manager and empower them in the right way to do a good job, and I set them targets, I make those targets, matter to them, like they actually have to hit them, but I give them the resources and the tools and the ability to go out and hit those targets, I will see more profit.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to.
I think that's one thing that is missing here in Aussie is the course or the right skill set to give Group X managers the tools to do what they've got to do. That's one thing I'd say is lacking. The group fitness management seminar that Les Mills do is great, and that's the foundations and that's the understanding of what it is. I still believe there needs to be, as you do for a Cert 3 or Cert 4 in fitness here, you've got to go and do your course and it's pass or fail. Same as your module training, you go and do a course and it's pass or fail. There needs to be something for Group X managers so that they have that skill set and can learn that and refer back to that, but understand exactly how it needs to be done in order to bring the best out of your team, bring the best out of your department, and make sure that it's successful in what it is. I think there's a link there missing in some way. Yes, there's enough information out there, but really having the time to invest, to pay attention to that, I think will really help group exercise across the board, no matter where you are, as long as you've got the skill set to do it right.
I think what you're hitting upon there is we can train a lot of those skills. Like, we can train a group fitness manager in how to assess. Like, we can teach them what skills they're looking for in an instructor. We can teach them how to create a great timetable. We can teach them how to do recruitment. We can teach them all those admin skills and all those kind of skills. Are we hiring for somebody who can do admin?
Yep.
Or are we hiring for the soft skills? Soft is a term that people apply to it, but they're not that easy.
Yeah.
Are we hiring for those other skills that we're looking for in that area? And to me, what you're talking about is leadership.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is hiring leaders within your business.
Yep.
That takes confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like, for someone who's a club manager or above, whoever's doing the hiring and firing of group fitness managers, if you're hiring leaders into your business, you're hiring people who will lead.
Yep.
So sometimes there can be a hesitancy to do that because, oh geez, do I want someone who's just
Do-
going to go off and like
Yeah.
follow me, troops,
Look,
and charge off
yeah.
in their own direction?
Yep. I think
Yeah.
if they've got the understanding and the vision, I think if the business has also done their business plan and knows the vision, the mission and goals and purpose and what they're trying to achieve, then you're able to easily employ that person, or not easily, but you're able to have that person employed to do that job and lead because they understand what the goal is, what we've got to try and achieve in that way. Maybe it is. Do we continue to call people group fitness managers, or are they called group fitness leaders or group exercise leaders? Ooh, hashtag that one, people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's sort of the underlying principles that we operate on within New Zealand.
Yeah.
Is we're group fitness managers, but there is a lot of culture.
Yep.
So we use all of the tools. We do analytics, we do management, we do all of that stuff. But we're also thinking about all those little things. Like it's a complex beast to manage the culture of a group of people, a diverse group of people who can number from 20 to 100 and something within our facilities.
Yeah.
And we've got to pull all those people together, get them harnessed, get their energy going in the same direction towards, the goal that we're setting. But as you say, like if you've set a clear vision, if your business has a clear vision and a clear intention, it has a clear set of values that underpin the way that you go about doing your business, and then you have a clear understanding of the broad strategies that you intend to employ to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
So those things, those sort of parameters, then they set guidelines, they set tracks for the people in business. So you can employ leaders, you can employ people who are like, I'm gonna drive culture within my team, and I'm gonna lead from the front, the back, the side, wherever I need to be, to help these people go forward. And they can have a strong sense of that, but then they understand, they're like, but I joined this company because this is the vision that they had, the values that they believe in, and the strategies they want to employ. So I knew when I signed up what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. And it helps as well for that group fitness manager or group X manager to then employ the right instructor.
Yeah.
So the instructor knows, you know what, you don't just rock up here and teach and then rack off. You're here because you are the right fit. It's not just because you can teach and you're available at Tuesday night, 5:35. Yay, great, you're available. Yeah, hello, are you the right fit for my gym? Are you the guy that's going to get up there and tell these funny jokes when my members don't want funny jokes? As we alluded to before, it's making sure that the Group X manager then has the skills to pass on to the Group X instructor, but the Group X instructor also understands the vision, the mission, the goals, the values, the purpose, you name it, all on the same. We're heading in this direction. This is where we're going. This is the bus. If you don't want to be on the bus, get off. Go and teach somewhere else.
Yeah, and no hard feelings.
Simple. Exactly.
That's the tricky part as well. Is like, this is a profession. We're professionals.
Remove emotion. Yeah.
And we've often been guilty of being passionate to a fault within our business, and then it goes from being a business to being a family. And then you're really in trouble. And finding the right people and treating them with respect, treating them with professionalism, but then also acknowledging like when it's not the right fit. The club that I was working at prior to Dunedin was Les Mills Takapuna at the other end of the country. And that's part of the Auckland cluster of Les Mills gyms. Sits 10 or so kilometres from Auckland City, so not very, very close. And at one point, many years ago, like a long time ago, more than 10 years, the philosophy was just get rock stars. Just get, you want rock star instructors will fill classes, and just do whatever it takes to get the rock star, get them in your gym, give them the tools that they need, and then just set them to work, and they'll just pull numbers, and that'll be great. And to be clear, a rock star instructor, it's a label. We're not actually looking for literal rock stars who throw things out of windows and stuff. But you know what I mean? Like the
what you mean? You
instructor
can't
just
jump off the stage into your attack class and hope that you can crowd surf.
I've dreamed of it. I got to admit, I have dreamed of doing that more than once. But you want the people who just have the gift. And so that's what they did at Les Mills Takapuna. They grabbed whoever they could encourage to come over from Les Mills Auckland City to go and teach in Takapuna. And a few of them went great.
Yep.
And a greater percentage of them didn't go great.
Wow.
Because, as you just said, those people were perfectly suited to the big stage and the high demand and the let's just go because we love group fitness of Auckland City. And they were used to having people, hey, you're a rock star too.
Yeah, back again.
Dog's back involved. And they were used to having people who were just absolutely passionate about Les Mills programs.
Yeah.
Now, Les Mills Takapuna is a suburban club. It might be 10 kilometres from Auckland City, but they could care less.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just do not care about the Les Mills anything.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh, what's your name? Oh, Susan Renata. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Have you been teaching long?
Yep.
You know?
Yep. They don't care.
I'm sure she could tell a few stories about it, and not just her. Like they had all the rock stars, and Susan apparently did do great in Takapuna. She was one of the fortunate ones.
Yeah.
She's back there now, by the way.
Brilliant. Yep.
She's just taken over that job as group fitness manager. But yeah, a lot of them, they came over and did their rock star thing, and the members just were like, it's not really what we're looking for.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and ultimately it didn't pan out. So yeah, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. Like, you're recruiting for the people that will suit the business that you're running.
Yep.
You know, and every club manager and GFM should be having that conversation.
I'll be honest and say
who should be on our team.
Yeah. Back when I was group fitness coordinator, I think that's what the role was called at Fitness First many moons ago, in 2008, I think is when I started it. I was completely guilty of, can you teach 5:30 Tuesday? Sweet, man. Thanks. Yep.
Sometimes
I know
you just need a pulse, mate.
You were on the books, yep, somewhere at Fitness First. So if you're on the books, you were good, because you know what? Yeah, were you really? Yeah, you can get in and teach. And I hope that the people that were teaching for me back then at 5:30 Tuesday don't think I'm referring to them. It could be any time slot, but that's what it was. When I was so new in the role, it was, you need someone to teach, you find someone. Yep, cool. You can teach, brilliant. I can relax now because I've got somebody in there. I never had the opportunity, or never had the opportunity to develop the skill set to turn around and say, are you the right fit? Are you going to really fit my members at that time slot that I'm offering to you? Are they going to gel with you? You know, is there a trial period? How do I do this? How do I get you in front of those people without them wanting to chew you up and spit you out and go, nah, never come back here again?
Yeah.
How do I introduce that? How do I do that? And that was a skill set that I would say that it not from Fitness First, not from anything else apart from, I didn't understand the role properly back then. And I think that's what I've learned over the years, to sort of go, okay, we need to understand really what the role of a Group X manager is, to ensure that we're putting the right people in front of the right people.
Yeah, there's a degree of psychology going on there as well.
Yeah.
And like you say, like, now the group fitness manager is not just a good manager, a good analyst, a good assessor, a good leader. Also, amateur psychologist would help as well. If you just had a little bit of that would be fabulous. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, every group fitness instructor is an amateur psychologist, to be fair.
Yeah, as well as a PT.
As well as a PT. You know, people have many skills.
Yeah.
But no, you're completely right. You know, if a group fitness manager can at least make the effort to consider who goes to that class.
Yeah.
What did they want? So you don't really need to be like a specialist to be able to go and answer the obvious questions. I mean, let's take a really glaringly basic one, like, who normally goes at 9:15 in the morning to a group fitness class? And contrast that to who normally goes to a group fitness class at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Same
person, isn't it?
Well, sometimes.
So yeah.
But they're different demographics on the whole, and then you go, okay, cool. And what style of instructor? So again, and I don't want to throw shade on our instructors, because there are some instructors who are like, you know what? I will chameleon myself to whatever the needs of the people in front of me are.
Yeah.
And if you can find that instructor,
yes,
you should hold on to that instructor very tightly, because they're
Yep.
a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person.
Yep.
And you should definitely buy them things all the time.
Yeah.
Say thank you a lot, because they're great.
Yep.
And some instructors are like, you know what? I really enjoy teaching 9:15 in the morning. it's just a great vibe for me, and I like the people, and they like me,
Yeah.
and this is my time slot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And personally, I've taught 9-15 classes. I taught them 3 times a week for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yep.
Loved it. Great fun.
Yep.
But also, if you put me in at 5:30 p.m. in the evening, I will do my damnedest to just like make them vomit.
Yeah, annihilate them. Yeah, yes. Yeah.
It's just a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you've got instructors for one and you've got instructors for the other. And if you can identify, and if you're just looking at the instructor going, what's your thing, mate?
Yeah.
What's your scene?
Right.
And like you say, like give them a trial.
Yep.
Maybe don't tell them they're on trial because that might not get the outcome that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But be like, hey, look, let's do this for 3 months and sit down and have a conversation at the end of it.
Yeah. Mate, the best thing that I did was when I was on the hunt for instructors was go and do their classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't really want to do another class this week, but I know I need an instructor coming up soon because such and such is leaving me or you know, is pregnant or whatever's going on. I'm going to have to go and find someone. So I'd go and scout. Yeah, have a chat. Hey, not coming to this time slot because I want to steal you for this time slot. I've got another time slot that is going to be coming available, and I just popped in to see how you were going as an instructor. You know what? I think you'd fit. Can we have a chat? Yeah, that's probably the easiest way, and I think that's probably, I'd say, not done as often here as what it was years ago. You know, I don't think instructors or managers have enough time up their sleeve to be able to do it. Yeah. With everything else that's going on and managing everything, you've got to dedicate that time to, if you're looking for and scouting for new instructors, you'll probably. Don't just throw an ad out on Facebook because, Christ, that's not going to get you what you need. No. It'll help.
It's a high risk, high reward strategy. And I have a lot of empathy for the group fitness managers who are like, dude, man, I need to field a body, mate.
Yep.
Like, I need someone on stage on Monday night or it's going to be me.
Yep.
And I've already done 24 classes this week and I can't feel my feet anymore. You know, so I've got a lot of empathy for that. Like coming into the role here in Dunedin, this is a single gym city for Les Mills programs. So the team that I train and develop are it. I can't go and try and hire outside of my team.
Yep.
There is no one else.
Yep.
So when I got here, we'd had a really hard run of a period of time where recruitment hadn't been particularly possible or effective because of COVID.
Yes.
So there've been repeated lockdowns, and then every time they came out of lockdown, they were just trying to get the business operational. So it was, you know, flat stick, just trying to run the club, and then, oh yeah, we're supposed to recruit, but we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So they were running quite low on team members.
Yeah.
And it's stressful, man. Like, oh, okay. Cool. We don't actually have any body combat instructors in the city right now.
Yep.
What are we going to do?
Yeah. Look,
I'm not dusting off my sneakers for that program. No. I'll tell you right now.
I still think that's one of the big challenges, and I don't think it matters where you are, whether you're regional, whether you're a CBD. Finding instructors and recruiting instructors is still the biggest challenge that clubs are facing, especially the clubs that I'm chatting to here in Australia after COVID, because COVID. A lot of instructors decided to, well, I'm going to jump out of the industry. You know what? I'm not going to teach 15 classes anymore. I'm going to teach 3. And I'm only available during this time slot because now I've got a full 9-to-5 job that I can only teach before or maybe lunchtime if you're lucky, if the gym's close enough to where my work is or whatever it may be. And so there's a lot of challenge still with trying to recruit and retain instructors since COVID, and a lot of the biggest thing I'm seeing at the moment on social media and the complaints are instructors aren't being paid enough. Now that I think is a podcast series in itself that I could probably go down one day. I won't go into that now.
If you thought we pissed off people before, let's jump into this conversation, see if we can get ourselves cancelled.
Everyone stay tuned. Giles is coming back for that podcast series.
We'll be taken off air, mate.
That'll be in 2024 when I've got enough guts to turn around and actually do it.
What do they call it? Big fitness is coming for you, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're advocates. So, you know, you got to put your hand on your heart and acknowledge your bias in that space.
Yeah.
You know, we see the value of people who teach group fitness.
Yes.
I see the value of every single person that works for me. And if I had a magical pot of money and the ability to do whatever I wanted, I'd be like, raises for everyone.
Yeah. Mate, I
but
think
we live
that's,
in the real world.
yeah, that's the
And
biggest
we have
challenge.
to
And I
manage
think,
budgets. So yeah,
yes,
it's tough.
exactly. Some clubs, depending on where they are, can't afford to pay what other clubs are, and it's relative to where you're working. You know, there is an
Completely.
award as such. However, some clubs, you know, they can't afford paying X amount of dollars. They can only afford to pay Y. And you know,
Yeah.
as I said, we will leave that one alone because that'll open up too many cans of worms. And
Yeah, I mean, the best way that you can keep your group fitness instructors earning money is by keeping the doors open to your business.
yeah,
So, you
Yep.
know, every business owner and every club manager has to answer to that first and foremost, and then do whatever they can to try and be as ethical as they can be in the way that they treat their people.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's just being purely transparent and
Yeah.
just saying,
yes,
this is what we've got, people. This is
Yep.
what we're working with, and we'll do our best to look after you as best we can. But
yeah.
we have constraints.
This is the Group X podcast. Thank you for sharing that stuff on Group X management. I want to jump back over to, as I said before, to the trainer presenter stuff that you were doing, you have been doing. How did that opportunity come up for you to do that? Can I understand that's different to what it is here in Australia as well? The trainer presenter team.
The trainer presenter journey.
Yeah.
So who was I listening to? Which one was it? Was it Marlon? You were talking about just how the trainer presenter journey has changed quite radically over the years.
Yep.
Getting onto trainer teams. So the UK team, even back in 2003, the UK team was an audition process. So if you wanted to be on the UK trainer team, you had to video yourself teaching a class
Yep.
and submit it along with a written application
Yep.
via VHS.
Yeah. By what? Some
Yeah.
of the young ones going, "What's the VHS?" What?
Yeah, to Fitness Professionals Limited, East 14 or East 12 or something,
Yeah.
in London, by a certain date, and
Yep.
then they would review all the applications, and they would invite I think it was the top 20 or so people got invited to. It was called FitPro, was the agent who handled
Yes.
Les Mills UK business at the time.
Yep.
And they got invited to their head office in East London, at the end of the district line. Remember that? At the end of the district line in East London, for an audition.
Yep.
And that was essentially how I got on board. And again, like coming back, like if you're somebody out there who has an ambition to be a trainer or a presenter today, my piece of advice is, first, go listen to Marlon's podcast. That was good.
Yep.
And then second,
Thank you.
be persistent.
Yeah.
Be persistent.
Yep.
Like, just because you get told no doesn't mean never. It just means not now.
Yeah.
If
Love
you
that.
really want it,
Love it. Yes.
be persistent.
Yeah.
Not in an annoying way,
Yep.
but in a like, okay, well, why did I not get there?
Yeah.
What can I go away and work on?
Yep.
And if it's a good application process, they'll tell you that.
Yeah.
What can I go away and work on? Okay, cool. I'll see you in 6 or 12 months whenever the next
The
opportunity
next
comes
role
up.
is yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and I'm going to invest in myself, time and effort and energy to do that. Because if you really want it, that's what you'll do.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to do the things, then you didn't really want it.
Yes.
So go
Yeah.
do something else,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is fine. But
And if-
I
yeah.
really, really wanted it. And
Yeah.
I got turned down twice.
Yep.
I got turned down twice.
You've got got the type of personality to me, and correct me if I'm wrong. As you said right from the beginning, your persistence has paid off. You know, from going, even though that first instructor told you to fuck off out of his class, you went back and you've gone and kept going. And I think that's, as you said, that's if you really want something, you don't stop, do you? Not just you, but in general, that's what you need
No.
to do. You need, if you really, really want it, and you've got that passion and drive to go, this is what I want. Don't give up.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a deep sports background as an adult because I jumped into group fitness at such an early age.
Yep.
But I have a deep affinity for the psychology of sport
Yeah.
and
Yep.
that mentality. And I spend a lot of time reading about sports psychology and watching documentaries and looking at the people who are being interviewed and thinking, why do you think that way?
Yeah.
How does that benefit you? How does it hurt you? and bringing that in. And for me, it was just creating parameters in my mind at the time were like, these things can be really damaging to me, and these things can be really good for me.
Yep.
And persistence was the thing that was good for me. Ironically, on my last effort was when I kind of ran out of steam, and I'd filmed a class to submit, and the videotape had been defective, whatever. Dog ate my homework. And the due date had come and gone because, I hadn't done it early enough, which was my own damn fault. But so the videotape was stuffed. I didn't have another chance to film before that submission date. So I was like, well, that's my own damn fault. I've screwed up. I'm just going to go live my life and try and teach the best classes I can for the next 6 months. And that's just, maybe it just wasn't meant to be. I'll reflect on it and come back around to it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't be a presenter in the future. And the due date, on that day, the lead trainer in the UK, Yvette Flack, who is Pete Manuel's wife,
Yep.
and they were the co-bosses at the time in the UK, called me up, and she's like, Giles, and I'm like, hello, terrifying person. He said, Giles, I don't seem to have your video application on my desk. And I went, and I said, look, I made a video. I intended to send it to you. I had a technical error. It's my own fault. I've missed the due date, and so I will apply at the next opportunity. Thank you for calling me.
Yep.
And she went, well, don't let that stop you.
I love Yvette. I love her.
Yeah.
She's
like,
the best.
Get your video on my desk by tomorrow. Can you do that? And,
Yep.
and I was like,
Sure.
yeah, okay.
I'm not teaching until 3 days' time. No, that's all right. I'll get a class. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like, you're going to come to this boot camp if you're good enough. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right,
Brilliant.
then. Yes, boss.
Love that. Yeah.
It wasn't my boss. So yeah, went to the boot camp and got turned down again. Went to the boot camp and got turned down again.
Yep.
And then the month after that, they launched Body Attack in the UK.
Yep.
So I've been trying to get onto their trainer team as I think it was a body combat, body pump or whatever instructor at the time. So I've been submitting out of my strength.
Yeah. Yep.
But I just wanted to be on the team.
Yep.
So I got turned down again, and then the month later they're like, "Oh, Body Attack." So call me up like, "Do you want to apply to be a Body Attack trainer?" I'm like, of course I do.
Of course I do. That's my program.
Yeah, and then went to that boot camp, and then got turned down for that boot camp. So I went to the Body Attack boot camp, and I mean Dan Cohen and Rach Newsham and Sean Egan and a bunch of other legends.
Yeah. Yep.
Of Les Mills in the UK, like the best UK presenters, they all went to the boot camp as well. They're like, Body Attack's going to be great. We want to be part of this.
Yeah.
And even though I was the specialist, Trish went there as well. They all got in ahead of me because they were better presenters.
Yeah.
And I got turned down again.
Yep.
And then, and this is all in the space of a few months. And then Dan and Rach got the gig in New Zealand.
Wow. So Dan and Rach were on the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were UK trainers. They were
Wow.
rock stars in the UK. I mean, Dan Cohen was about as big of a deal as you could possibly be as a national presenter in the UK.
Wow.
And Rach was right there with them. Like they were, like today, they were 2 for 1. But Dan was like, Dan Cohen. Oh, everybody in the UK knew Dan. He was a maniac. A maniac in the best possible way. Like people were just like, oh man, that guy.
Yeah.
Body combat. Whoa.
Yeah.
Crikey. There were a couple other ones.
I've reached out to both of them. I'm waiting to hear back from them to try and get them on for a chat.
Yeah,
as
they
well,
would be great chats. But I mean, he was alongside another. There was Wayne Pegg. A couple other amazing people. Like just too many amazing people to remember all of them. Jenny Dolliff was another amazing presenter with the team there at the time. Just fantastic people. Like really elite presenters would be, if they were dropped into the market today, they would be elite presenters today. So anyway, long story short, Dan and Rach bailed out of the UK because they got a great gig in New Zealand. Good for them. And then Yvette calls me up again and is like, so a space has opened up in the trainer team for Body Attack. Can you, and she goes, what did she say to me? She said, There's a masterclass out in Bromley tonight. Can you get there?
How far away was that from where you were living?
It's, I mean, not particularly far as the crow flies, but
Yep.
in London, everything's far away because
Yeah.
you have to catch trains and they don't move fast. And it was
Yep.
snowing,
Oh,
which is why she couldn't make it herself. She's
Yep.
like, I think she was pregnant with Freya at the time.
yeah.
She's like, can you go and do this? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
100% yes. I get on this train and I go out and I teach this masterclass out in, it was at Passborough, I think it was Ashford, which is in Kent. It's a long way away.
Yeah.
Got on the train, taught this masterclass, which, was great. And he got on the train back in, and the train back in almost did not get back to London because of the snow. Like, the train got diverted about 3 times. I think I got home at about 11 p.m. for this class. It was at 6
I'm
o'clock
teaching
at
one
night.
class.
But
Wow.
who cares?
Yeah.
I got on. I'm a trainer. I'm working for Les Mills UK.
So that was trainer and presenter back then, because whether
Yes. No, there was only
roles-
one role back then.
There was one,
It was, you were on the trainer team and you were expected to be a quarterly workshop presenter.
as well. Yeah.
And if they needed you, you were expected to be a module trainer. So I did my module training with Pete Manuel.
Yep.
And Wayne Pegg. And Pete being Pete, did my module training assessment where he was the lead trainer and I did the assessment day.
Yep.
Sat through the whole thing, watched the whole thing. And towards the end of the second day, I started to notice that he was, what's the nicest way to put it, distracted?
Yep.
Slightly distracted to it. And he just started smiling and smirking. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I was doing the session and I turned around and he was gone. And it was only about an hour and a half left
Yeah.
in the module training. It's not like he left
Yeah.
midway through the first day.
Yeah.
But there's an hour and a half and he'd gone. He'd left. And after I finished the training session, I just had this text message on my phone. He said, it was just like a text message to the effect of, you'll be right, mate. Good luck.
I love it.
Had to catch my train home.
Yeah. I'm
No,
off.
see you at the workshop.
Yeah. You've got this, mate. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he decided about halfway through the first day that this
Yeah.
kid's all right. He works really, really hard. He knows all his content.
Yeah.
But he just spoke it off. Didn't even wait
Love
for me
it.
to finish.
Yeah. Mr. Manuel, you're a legend. Absolute
Yeah.
legend. Love
That's
it.
how he rolls.
Cool. So in New Zealand at the moment, you're group fitness manager. Are you still on the trainer and presenter team at the moment?
Yeah. So I mean, it's been separated out here now for several years, probably just like in Australia as well. So our trainer and presenter team is now the TAP team. So
Yes.
trainers, assessors, presenters.
Yep.
Each of the roles is hired and selected for separately. So over the last few years, I've been just gently and quietly moving to the back of the presenter group.
Yep.
And
Yep.
focusing more as a trainer.
Yep.
And as a senior trainer within the team, supporting the new people coming through because, like as we said, like I've been doing this since 1997. So,
Yeah.
if there's no opportunities for other people to come through, then how do you ever expect anything to grow or develop?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ben and I have kind of had that sort of dialogue going on over a number of years. So now the way that I sit within the group is as I'm a member of the trainer team
Yep.
at a national level. I'm not a member of the national presenter group,
Yep.
but I support that group as a regional presenter for
Yes.
the Dunedin region.
Yep.
And whenever and wherever I am called upon as a subject matter expert for the stuff that I do.
Yep.
So if
Fantastic.
my head trainer in my region requires my support, I'm there for them whenever they want it.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. That's different to what's going on here as well. I think that the team here evolved a lot through COVID. Obviously, everyone was made redundant. Everyone had to reapply and everything. So we're seeing a whole lot of new faces come through, which is fantastic. But we've still got some of the legends. I was going to say dinosaurs. That's not the right word. Some of the legends that have been here for a while that are still helping the younger team. And you can see that transition start to happen here as well, which is brilliant. It's I think people realise that there's not an expiration date because that's not the right terminology to use, but there is a time frame when you need to, as you said, step aside and let some newbies come through because otherwise there's no evolution. Yeah, it's got to happen. man.
Yeah, it's not a sign of a healthy population
Yeah.
when the demographics are only one group.
Yeah.
You know? And when we first started out, the groups were so small that you couldn't get a great deal of variety because there were 8 people on the trainer team.
Yeah.
But now the groups are quite significantly large. Like in New Zealand, our TAP team consists of 85 people.
Wow.
85 people? Something like that. So
Yeah.
it's quite a big number of people.
Yeah.
Across all of the regions.
Yeah.
And that provides an opportunity for there to be space
Yeah.
for people such as myself who, you know, I'm never going to compete with the 21, 22-year-olds for tuck jumps.
Yep.
And
why not?
I shouldn't
No,
be. You know, like I'll do my tuck jumps as well as I can possibly do them.
Yeah.
And hey, on my day, maybe I can out tuck jump somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's not a competition.
Yes.
It's not. I'm not on stage to try to prove that I've still got it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I'm on stage to try and give the best experience to our instructor.
Yeah.
Whānau.
Yes.
Inspire them in the way that I can with the skill set that I have.
Yep.
And wherever possible, help the presenters who haven't had the opportunities that I've had and the experiences that I've had to answer the questions that they come up against as presenters. Because when you've never seen something before, you don't necessarily have all the answers for it.
Yeah.
But for someone such as myself who's seen most things, I can always be like, oh yeah, cool. So this is how you might approach it.
Genuine. I like it. Nice, mate. Nice. Now I've got 2 more questions to throw at you. Now the curly
Fire
ones
away.
I always throw
Let's
at the
go.
end. Yeah. What bit of advice can you give to an instructor that might be listening who wants to improve or look to move into that trainer role? Now you're not allowed to say persistence because you said that before.
we sort of started to cover this before.
Yeah.
Someone who's looking to move into the trainer role, and the best advice that I have for them.
Or even just looking to improve on what they're currently doing now. What advice can you give them?
Well, first of all, start with the thing that you're most passionate about. Yep, because it has been covered by again other people prior to me. If you're really passionate about the thing that you're doing, you will invest the time and effort to be elite at that thing. If that's your trajectory, right? You're never going to maximize your potential by, you know, for example, if you're a great cyclist trying to be the best body pump instructor.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the pathway towards your maximum potential. So choose the thing you're most passionate about, and then just go out and sponge. Find as many people as you can to learn off of. You may choose 1 or 2 mentors, but don't limit yourself to just only learning from 1 or 2 people. Go out there and see the full breadth of things. You'll find what resonates with you, and then from that, you'll be able to identify what your secret sauce is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way too many instructors try to paint by numbers and teach the way that they think someone else wants them to teach. You know, as it's a cliche now, but new instructors always copy the person that trained them or the person they see on the masterclass.
Yeah.
But even experienced instructors still get caught into that space of, oh, well, these are the criteria and this is what they want from me, so this is how I should behave and this is how I should act and yada, yada, yada. But the really great presenters don't do that.
Yeah.
The best presenters know what their secret is. They know what their magical superpower is, and they lean into that. You know, I mean, it may not be a great example for younger instructors today, but my best example of that is Matt Thraxton.
Yep.
Another guest of the podcast.
Yep.
And Matt just never, ever, for 1 second, did anything apart from lean into what Matt was great at. You know, his charisma on stage, his 6th key element stuff, is absolutely up there with, I would put him up against literally any other presenter in the world, period.
Yep.
Ever, over the course. Like, if you were to try and pick your top 5 most entertaining body pump presenters of all time, he's going to be in that group. Period.
Yep.
I don't care what your other 5 are.
Yeah.
Matt's going to be in that group.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's because he knew what his secret sauce was.
Yeah.
He didn't try to be the most technically perfect instructor.
Yeah.
I mean, his coaching is great too, but no one's going to go home going, gosh, Matt Thraxton, wow, man, that guy really knows how to coach a layer too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's not what you remember about him.
Yes.
You remember him dropping his barbell and catching it with his foot.
Yeah.
And then giving you the eyebrow.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you remember.
Yes.
And that's what he's great at.
Yeah.
So, that's my advice.
Yeah.
Find the thing you're passionate about, go out there and sponge, and then use that to find your superpower.
Yep.
Once you've got your superpower, you're good.
Brilliant.
You will go far.
Yeah. Love that. Now, the last one. Is there anything in the industry that you feel needs to change?
So many things.
Pick one.
All of the things. Is there anything in the industry, the whole fitness industry, that needs to change?
Yeah. Not just relating to group exercise, but in the fitness industry. Is there anything that's not a bugbear, but anything that you think is an important thing that we need to start talking about in order to start the change?
Yeah, I don't know how qualified I am to speak about the whole industry. I think people who sit in bigger markets or sit across more segments of the industry are probably going to be better qualified to offer an expert opinion on that.
Yep.
You know, I was in Auckland prior to this up until last year, and now I'm in Dunedin, which is a very small little corner of the fitness industry. But I do believe that the thing that we're looking at the moment that I'm seeing a lot of is there's a lot of flux. As you mentioned, you alluded to earlier, or didn't allude to, you said earlier, we have a lot of people, especially in group fitness, who've reflected on and recalibrated on what their priorities are. And so we've seen people exit the business, we've seen people dial back from the business. And so if I was a leader and like a senior manager within any fitness industry organization, within any gym, in at least in a market that looks like the one I'm working in, I would be looking very carefully at how am I going to identify and recruit quality talent to my business going forward. Because we've been so focused on just keeping the doors open in a lot of our businesses that we may have lost sight of the competitive advantage that we achieve from really high quality team members in our businesses. And again, I don't know what person listening to this podcast's business look like. You might be like, hey, gee, you should come and check out my club. We've got great talent. And awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
But as an industry, I think that we've seen a lot of flux and we continue to see a bit of flux. And certainly from my perspective, it has been challenging to engage and recruit really high talent people into the industry at this time and to keep the really good people on board. You know, I've been lucky that in the latest recruitment drive that I've done with the club down here, we've had some fantastic people come on board. But hand on heart, tell the truth, like 2 months ago, I was a bit stressed.
Yep.
I was a bit stressed about finding good people, and I lost out of a team of not much more than 37 great people at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not easy.
That
That's
that
not easy
hurts.
to
That
manage.
hurts in so many ways.
Yeah, so that would be the thing. And again, like you said, what should the industry change? It's not so much necessarily what should the industry change, but that's certainly what I would be on the lookout for. Is I would be going through my teams and asking myself, who are my great people? How do I hold those people? How do I keep them in my business? Because there's never been more mobility. There's never been more opportunity for people to go and start up their own gym, start up their own app, move to another business. How am I going to hold those people? And then what is my plan? What is my pipeline for putting new good people alongside those ones?
Brilliant. Mate, thank you so much for sharing your story, your tips, your tricks, your advice for everyone that's listening, mate. I've greatly appreciated the last almost 2 hours of sitting here getting to know you a lot better than just via the emails and that kind of stuff with body bike stuff. So, mate, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd love to say that we've held the entire audience's attention for 2 hours, but my dog has started snoring.
We didn't hear my dog's bark at all. I think he's been scratching at the door. So, yeah.
we lost at least one person during the course of this podcast. And no, it's a real pleasure, Tony. I've had a great time chatting to you, and look forward to more banter in the future.